The story of two children sent to Barre, Vermont from their homes in Lawrence, Massachusetts, to keep them out of harm's way during a strike organized by textile mill workers is the subject of this year's book selection for Vermont Reads. Vermont Reads is a program that had its start 15 years ago in Manchester with a reading of Vermont novelist Karen Hess's book, Witness. The program was adopted by the Vermont Humanities Council at the time, and they have been organizing it ever since.
For a moment, he stopped digging, but the freezing air drove him farther in. He tried to warm himself by cursing his pa. The words inside his head were flaming Hades, but they didn't fool his hands and feet, which were aching from the cold. He had heard of people dying in their sleep. It happened to drunks all the time.
Each year, a book is picked and community readings around the state are held. This year's book choice was Bread and Roses, too, a novel written by Vermont author Catherine Patterson. It describes the journey of two children, Rosa and Jake, who were sent from the labor-strife-torn town of Lawrence, Massachusetts, to stay in Barre until things settle down back home. The story explores topics such as the immigrant experience in America, labor history, and Vermont history. Earlier this month, local residents partnered with the Dorset Players, an acting and theater group, along with Maple Street School, to hold two readings of the book, one at the Dorset Playhouse and the other at the Manchester Community Library. Maureen Chaffee, a third-grade teacher at Maple Street School, directed the production, which included Maple Street's upper school English teacher Connor Welch, fifth-grader Ryder Scott, and sixth-grader Maddie von Balmus. We talked with both teachers afterwards about the reading.
So the idea is that they choose a book that appeals to both kids from the ages of 10 and up, and then also is appealing to adults. And then they encourage schools and other community organizations to get together and present programs. And so Maple Street has worked with the Dorset Players and other schools in the areas on other years in order to perform these stage readings, and then sometimes we've done some additional projects here at school with the upper school English classes. So in the past we've worked with Long Trail School and Stratton Mountain School, and then this is the sixth time that I have directed a stage reading. And so one of the things that is also really nice is that each time that I've done this, we've had people who are new to the Players and people who are had never performed on stage in that way. So it's also a great opportunity for them to get a taste of theater.
Yeah, and I had taught the book with my sixth graders too, so that class had sort of knew the ins and outs of the plot, and one of our students, Maddie von Balmus, played Rosa last night, and so I think it was really interesting for her to see the book presented in a new and kind of different way, which was really cool, and for me too, actually.
Assign, parts to each person, and they had one or two parts, and then there were a couple of people that were just narrators, and then there were others that played a part and did narration.
Yeah, it was nice to see them kind of take on those characters and sort of bring them to life in a really interesting way. It kind of added, I think, to their understanding of the book, which was really cool.
You got more clothes, Jake boy?
Next year's Vermont Reads selection will be something a little different. It will be the graphic novel March, Book 1. It is the first of a trilogy written by civil rights icon John Lewis in collaboration with co-writer Andrew Aiden and award-winning graphic artist Nate Powell. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.